Welcome back to TSO Daily Dose. Today I have a very interesting guest joining us, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Tasmania, Professor Rufus Black. Thanks for coming in.
Great to be joining you this morning.
Now, it's very early this morning. You're a very busy man. You have a lot on your plate with COVID-19, I assume.
As a university, obviously, there are a number of things. We have to look after our students and ensure education can keep going all the way through this. And as much as possible, getting it back to in-person, which is, given how well Tasmania's done in suppressing the virus and eliminating community transmission, it's exciting to see this semester a good number of students getting back on campus doing in-person learning with lots of careful social distancing plans. But we're also making sure we're, as a university for Tasmania, we're here for the community as well. So we put a wide range of programs out, shorter course type programs to help people upskill, special programs for the tourism industry here, which has been particularly hit. And there's been a fantastic uptake of those. And we also provide support to the state. So, we've had 30 of our epidemiologists and biostatisticians working with the state, helping them with their planning on it. We printed a lot of PPE equipment early on when that was in short supply out of our engineering workshops to keep our frontline workers safe. When you're a single university for a whole island, you end up involved in all sorts of parts of a community response in a situation like this.
That's really fascinating that you were able to leverage some of your sort of skill sets in engineering and is it 3D printing?
Yeah, 3D printing. And in fact, we moved on to an even more efficient model, which was to laser cut it. 3D printing takes a bit of time. We managed to get it in about 10% of the time to make a face shield when we switched it to laser cutting the plastic. Yeah, and early on when hand sanitizer ran short, our chemists produced a whole lot of that for people who needed it. So, universities actually hold a lot of capability in a time like this.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a great centre for knowledge, and sometimes it's hidden behind closed doors to those of us on the outside, but it's so nice that at a moment like this, it can come out and we can really see the benefits to the community. The University of Tasmania has a great sort of music program as well. We've got a beautiful new building across the road, not too far from here in the Hedberg. How has that been affected? How's the building there going and how's everything moving in?
As you can imagine, because of the social distance, as the orchestra, you would know the challenges of performing music in a socially distanced age. But look, I was so impressed. First semester, our music students were doing most of their work remotely, but I had the huge pleasure of joining to watch their end of semester concert all done effectively through synced up Zoom performances and really exceptional. Yeah. So they found ways to keep making kind of great music through these times as you all have. And also it's kind of reaching new audiences in new ways. And I think that's pretty exciting.
We were discussing off camera how this Daily Dose has grown and become a massive reach into the community and a great outreach arm. Would you see that as an important future thing for the musicians of the next generation or indeed any part of the university?
I think certainly for music and the creative arts, being able to bring, in a sense, traditional craft into digital space and seeing what great uptake you can get, I think that's really exciting because, we're in a world, we're in a highly multimedia world. The ability to bring exceptional performance into a whole range of settings, which are actually very hungry for the acoustic as much as for the visual. Yeah. I see that. I mean, you can see a growing workforce for musicians and all sorts of visual creative artists and others because the world's need and desire for this stuff just keeps growing. And I think this moment, which is encouraging so many of us to think about how we do that really well, is expanding opportunity. And it gets us out. It's not an either or. I mean, this goes well because the focus on the maintaining the true excellence that is great music or any of the other great creative arts. That remains the focus on doing that with great technical precision remains really really important. But we're able to bring that to new settings. But I also think it helps us see the premium of the in-person too.
Yes.
So when we're denied that for a bit, we're suddenly reminded how super special it is actually to be live with people.
Yeah.
And I think capturing that on the way out of this thing is really important. It reminds us, because we do so much more when we get together personally. Great music is a physical experience.
Yeah.
It's not just a cerebral experience.
No.
And it's a community experience, and
Yep.
it's an event. And all of those things, we've suddenly, I think, paying more attention to, in a sense, the ritual presence of what happens when we make great music, or any other kind of great performance. So hopefully we'll all be reminded to value that a bit more coming out of this.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I often think there's an either-or direction when we come back. People will be too afraid to come back into the concert hall, or people will be dying to get back in. And I sort of agree with you. The ritual nature of it means that sort of people will be dying to get back together again.
We need those things in our lives. And when they go missing, I think we really notice them.
Let's talk about the role music has played in your life. Have you had a musical upbringing? Have you learnt to play an instrument before?
I did have a musical upbringing. I think encouraged in our family. My middle name is Rees, and actually one of my ancestors, after whom that name comes, was Beethoven's piano teacher. And picture of him sits still in Beethoven's house. And Ferdinand Rees, it was his uncle, obviously wrote a lot of romantic music in that era. And we're actually still in connection with the Rees descendants in Germany. And bits of the family have done quite a lot to keep that part of the heritage alive. So inevitably, there was a certain encouragement to be engaged in the world of music, with infinitely less talent than any of my ancestors. But with a lot of pleasure. I think I learnt the cello at school and really enjoyed that. But I think the point at which music probably had its really greatest impact on me was, I am a religious person, and when I went to university, I was fortunate enough to be in University College, which had Ormond College, an outstanding choir, and the first time I sat and heard polyphony, it was a spiritual experience. It was an immersion in a world of sound that really takes your whole self somewhere else. And to sit for my undergraduate life every week surrounded by extraordinary polyphony, and then I was fortunate enough to be a student in Oxford after that, where that experience continued, and I had a role in one of the college chapels on the theological side in Oxford for a little time, and actually sitting really with a choir all around you. And then I was a college chaplain later on, again with an extraordinary choir. When I talk about, the physical experience of music, being the church minister surrounded by that sound all around you, pretty much right in the middle, it's a complete experience. So it has always been, and all through my kind of academic life, when I've been doing serious writing, I do normally have some piece of favourite polyphony in the background.
Really?
In a sense, for me, almost the earlier the better.
Okay.
And that's where the sort of religious connection is important. I do find it a really meditative, highly focusing activity. And the language in it, which is all biblical Latin, it's a meditation.
Yes.
And precisely because you don't have sudden jumps, if you like, your mind isn't disturbed out of its focus.
Yeah.
And so it just carries sort of exquisite attention to both language and sound, really deeply.
Yeah.
And there is the mathematical intrigue of
the harmony.
Is just exquisite to be hearing for, and the ability to shift your attention between the different voices.
Yep.
That, at least in religious terms, is a form of meditation. So that is extraordinary.
I think there's a really interesting crossover between a bunch of things we're talking about, but music and ideas, and it comes to a head in this, classic religious art, is that here's the church saying, we have a really important idea we want to share with you, and the best way we can do that is by focusing your mind in it with music. Do you think that music is a a good vessel for sharing good ideas, or is that just me
No, I
projecting
think it's. I think it's a superb vessel. It's sort of, it's oral philosophy when you're doing that kind of music. It is, and the sophistication of some of what's going on in that polyphony theologically. I mean, it is referencing kind of number sequences that are profoundly and deeply theological in the way they play out. So this is happening at lots of levels going on, and that's again, as you kind of explore and discover it, it just draws you deeper, ever deeper into it. And we talked about ritual before, and one of the pieces that we, when you're asking what pieces we think about, the first time I heard Allegri's Miserere, which is now a very well-known piece, but of course once not allowed to be widely known, performable only in the Sistine Chapel and only in Holy Week. When I first heard that was really for its original purpose, which is in a tenebrae service, which is a service during Holy Week where you slowly put out the candles till you're in complete darkness.
Oh, wow.
And it's a very powerful, and for which there's been some of the most, I find, compelling music ever written has been written for that descent into the darkness. But to be sitting in near darkness and to hear Allegri's Miserere, well-vaulted chapel, it takes your soul right up into the rafters. And I've heard it performed in Gothic spaces, in Gothic church spaces in England in that kind of setting. And it makes the hairs stand up on the back of your neck as the sound carries your mind sort of right.
It is definitely music that's written for a grand space. It relies on that air in the space and that echo to really
but
really
when that
transcend.
soul voice sails upwards, and in New College Chapel in Oxford they have these great carved angels, wooden angels that vault out into the space. And if you hear the Miserere, this single kind of exquisite voice sailing up, it's like the sound is with the angels.
Wow. You've mentioned angels, you've mentioned Allegri. Today we have a piece that we performed with the brass ensemble in Federation Concert Hall last week. It's Mendelssohn's setting of Psalm 100. Are you familiar with the psalm and the text behind this?
Yes, it's been a wonderful inspiration to music because it starts with that terrific "Make a joyful noise unto the Lord." It's a command to kind of celebrate in lots of ways. And sometimes people kind of see religion as all a bit inward focused and serious, which at one level it is, but at another level it does have this moments of joyful expression about the wonder of life, and what better way to celebrate the wonder and joy of life than with some great brass. And I have to say, brass from that era we were talking about is also something I absolutely love, because I think and it's a civic thing. I mean,
Yes.
The lovely thing about the brass from that era is just how much it's a part of civic celebration. And at a time like this, some civic celebration with brass to remind ourselves there's still joy in the world. It's got to be a good thing.
Well, we hope that this morning's clip can really lift everyone up, and thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your experience with music with us.
Great pleasure.
Thank you so much. Please enjoy today's clip of Psalm 100, performed by the TSO Brass Ensemble, conducted and arranged by Johannes Fritzsch.